Welcome to Modern Word Ministries. I'm Deacon Tom Moore, and on behalf of my wife Kim and myself, we want to welcome you. And just to let you know that whether you're here in person or you're tuning in on social media, we appreciate that you have chosen to spend a little bit of your day with us. Before we get to this week's message, just a couple of quick things I'd like to cover. You know, we have an amazing website, and everything you want to do with us and we want to do with you can be found there. You can get on our prayer list on the website. You can do your tithes and offerings over the website, or you can communicate with us. I love feedback. My wife loves feedback. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what you need. Tell us what you're looking for in your church, because this is your church. I shepherd this church, but it's your church. So before we start with the message, just a couple of things. First, if you're in need of prayer, or if you know someone who's in need of prayer, go to our website at modernwordministries.org and put in a prayer request. It's very simple to follow. We will get back to you within 48 hours. It's all anonymous, it's confidential, and we will get back to you. I promise you that. We will put you on the prayer list, and we will pray for you every single day, because that's what we do, because we're a praying church. Secondly, tithes and offering. You know, an important part of being a Christian is giving your tithes and offerings to the Lord. And there are a number of scriptures that tell us why that is so important. But I'm here to tell you, we have made this so easy, so simple. Just go to our website and click on the tab that says support this ministry. It'll take you from there. It's so easy, even I could do it. So again, thanks for coming out today. And now here's this week's message. Good morning. I'm Deacon T, and I'll be bringing you the Word of God today. Welcome to Modern Word Ministries. It's great to have you with us. Today's message is called The Importance of Knowing Who You Are. And this message really came to me this week, and it is exactly what the title would make you think it is. It is an absolutely critical component in our humanity, our personal humanity, and in our walk with God, that we know who we are. If I don't know who I am, if I don't know what I stand for, if I don't know maybe not why I'm here in the biggest context, but why I'm here doing the things I'm doing, if I can't answer those questions, the chances are that I'm getting way off course from where I ought to be. So the message today, I want to talk about figuring out who you are and making these decisions then in the rest of our life that back up who I say I am. How many of us know people who say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the next thing, but they never do anything that make you think that that's actually true? And I'll give you a very obvious one. People that talk about, oh yeah, I want to be fit, I want to go fit, I'm going to go to the gym, I want to go to the gym. Dude, it's 3 years later. Either go to the gym or don't go to the gym. I don't even care, but stop talking about going to the gym. If you're a gym person and you're here in this audience or you're listening in, you know that if you're a gym person, you're at the gym all the time. And when you're there, you see the same people over and over. You may not know their name, but you'd be like, hey, what's happening? How you doing? And you recognize people who are truly gym people because they're there all the time. The people who aren't there, they're never there. They go right after New Year's. They go right after their birthday when somebody gives them a couple of free months, something. But the truth is that they don't know who they are. They say they're into fitness, but then they never go to the gym. Just as an example, right? Person that says, I'm a good Christian person, but just lives a completely heathen life. Now, we all have issues. We all have shortcomings. None of us live a perfect life. Of course not. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to make a point. That is people that talk about stuff all the time, but their actions and what they do and who they surround themselves with and that kind of thing doesn't match what they say. And I've sort of broken this down into this. It's about comfort versus discomfort. In order to be comfortable, or when you're comfortable,
you tend to be around things that provide you with responses and feelings and things that you've had before that turned out to be good for you. That doesn't mean they're good for you going forward. And I'm going to suggest to you that in the same way diamonds take pressure and wood has to be sanded and drywall has to be taped over and mud put on it to make it smooth, it's the same with us. If we're always comfortable, I'm going to suggest to you that we're not growing and learning. We're staying right in some very expected place where we know all the rules and we know what's going to happen, and we're not taking risks, we're not taking chances, we're not stepping out on faith, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. We're staying right where we were, even though we may say we want to do things, we want to change life, we want this, we want that, we want the next thing. But the truth is, when you look at your actions, they don't back that up. If you are always comfortable, you're never going to get ahead. You're never going to see the opportunities. You're never going to figure out what else might be out there for you. And it's kind of like, I'm somewhat guilty of this. I'm a very boring eater, and anybody who knows me knows that. I order the same stuff every day, every time. If I find a restaurant I like, I wear it out. I do. I just wear it out. And so I'm not a person that takes a lot of leaps when it comes to food, when it comes to eating strange things. I'm not. And I know I'm missing out. I know I'm missing out. But I don't go around and tell everybody that I'm a very wild eater and I'm a real, risk taker when it comes to my food. No, I don't. I try to be real and keep it real. It doesn't mean I do a perfect job, but I'm trying at least to be honest with myself. I'm not a risk taker when it comes to food. I'm just not. I'm just not. In our life, and this is what I think really wants to drive a lot of this home today. If we won't tolerate any discomfort, if we just refuse to have any discomfort in our life, well, then there's no way that we're going to have the status quo upset. If we don't have the status quo in our life upset, we don't have growth. We don't have development. We don't have new opportunities that are found and worked on. We miss opportunities in our destiny at things that are put there by God just for us, but because we want to stay over here in safe little area and don't want to take risks, we never get to see these things come true, and we're busy talking about them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. Not happening for me. I'm not getting the new job. Well, it's because you're not putting in resumes. It's because you're not going on to Indeed. You're just sitting at home complaining about your job. And that's not going to work. So if you want a new job, then go get a new job. Or at least try. I don't understand, and I really don't understand, people who lie to themselves. I understand lying to me. You're trying to perpetrate something. You're trying to be something. I understand you lying to somebody else. You're trying to be something or not be something that they think you are because you're trying to please other people. I understand that. I don't understand lying to yourself. Yeah, I'm on this diet. I'm really watching what I eat. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's why you don't lose weight and you don't go to the gym and you don't live a healthy lifestyle. So stop saying that. You're just lying to yourself. You're just lying to yourself. But it's so important that not in this message, but as we leave here, that you all say, I'm going to start with me. I'm going to start being honest with myself. I'm going to start asking myself these difficult questions. And I'm going to answer them to myself in the most honest, transparent way I can. I mean, if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be? I have two scriptures today. One's kind of long, and I'm not going to read all of it. The other one, much shorter. But the scriptures are about, and then just set this up, come out of Exodus, and it's about when Moses went up on the mountain and actually got the Ten Commandments. And he was up there and he was fasting and praying and interacting with God. And when he came back down from the mountain, all of the Hebrew people, almost 2 million of them, had melted down all of their jewelry and all their goldware to build an idol, but they built an idol who worshipped, and they worshipped an Egyptian god. They didn't build the idol to the right God. They were all naked, dancing around. It was just a big party, big orgy, big mess is what it was. And I'm going to read selected pieces of it in a moment here. But Moses came down and he could hear them partying. And he came around and saw what they were doing and realized that Aaron, his number two, was just as bad as the rest of them. And then trying to make up stories about, well, when we threw our gold into the fire, it just came out and looked like that idol. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Not at all. You all built that, and you're worshiping false gods. You're worshiping foreign gods. And it's a very interesting piece of scripture because God wants to wipe these people out, is what he tells Moses, for just being so out of it. And Moses convinces God not to do that. Not to do that. And I'm going to read a couple things out of here. And then we want to talk about the importance of knowing who you are. In Exodus, in the 32nd chapter of Exodus, I'm going to skip the part where Moses went up and was, dealing with God, and he got the 10 Commandments on the tablets, and he came back down, and he realized that everybody was partying and dancing and worshiping false gods. I'm going to just skip ahead of that. But I want to go to the part where he came around the corner and he sees them doing all this stuff. And as soon as he came near the camp and saw the calf, that's the false idol, and the sound of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing that I hear. So what's he hear? He comes around the corner and he doesn't hear people like, oh my gosh, the Egyptians have come back and taken us over. And no. He came around the corner and he saw the calf and he saw the dancing and heard the singing, and he went crazy. And it says, Moses' anger burned hot, and he threw the tablets. These are the 10 Commandments. He threw the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf that they had made, the idol, and burned it with fire and ground it to powder and scattered it on the water and made the people of Israel drink it. Why? Because then it was real bitter, because it had that metal taste from the gold and from the metal that had been melted down. So he made them drink it so that it tasted bitter to them. And Moses said to Aaron, this is the guy he left in charge, what did this people do to you that you have brought such a great sin upon them? So he was supposed to be in charge, and he let him go. And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know the people that are set on evil. For they said to me, make us gods who shall go before us. And for this Moses, the man who brought up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. In other words, he was up praying and they were playing the okey doke. They knew where he was. They knew exactly where he was. And they said to me, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, who brought us all the way out here, we don't know what's up. So I said to them, let any of you have gold, take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came the calf. So he was just lying to Moses, just lying to him. And when Moses saw that the people had broken loose, he stood at the gate of the camp and said, "Who is on the Lord's side?" So he was talking to these 2 million Jewish people who, remember, are divided into 12 tribes, that were each tribe was led by a different person, different family. And the sons of Levi gathered around him, and he said to them, "Thus say the Lord of Israel, put your sword on your side, each of you, and go to and fro the gate to gate throughout this camp, and each of you kill his brother and his companion and his neighbor." So here's what happened. Moses came back from getting the 10 Commandments and dealing with God and praying and fasting. It was kind of like the first big revival. And instead of having a revival where people are praying and thinking about the real God and about Jesus and what's going to happen, these people are off back doing what happened, excuse me, when they were entwined with the Egyptians. And the point here is this: you need to be careful who you hang out with and whose customs and observances you take into yourself. See, these people were so confused. Even though they were Jewish people, they had been enslaved by the Egyptians for 400 years. As soon as Moses, the controller, was gone, all hell broke loose. These people, remember now, were not living in their own land for 400 years, not really free to do their own faith for 400 years, not free to practice and observe like they had all been trained for 400 years, learned a different language and spoke it for 400 years. Because remember, the oppressors weren't going to learn, the Egyptian language they were speaking was a combination of Latin and other things. And the Hebrew people were speaking Arabic. These people weren't going to learn Arabic. They were the masters. So the thing that Moses realizes is that even though he was really mad at them, he wanted God to understand that we're confused down here. And he had witnessed it, experienced it himself firsthand. We are confused down here. We have lived so long and around and under the control of these other people that for us to fall off the wagon and to go back to worshiping false gods wasn't a very big jump at all. In fact, it was probably, he should have known it was going to happen. Here's why I bring this up now. We had talked about in other messages about knowing who you are and being yourself and loyalty and these things. The issue with these folks was because they didn't know who they were. They should have known because they were trained and taught, but for 400 years it had been watered down. So give them some break. The issue is that it is so easy to go back to the comfort of what you knew. These are the same people who were saying, why are we out here? Let's just go back to Egypt. I know we're slaves, but at least we had 3 meals every day and we didn't have to worry about it. They wanted to be slaves. Go back to 400 more years of slavery or something. It's crazy. Why is this a big deal? Why is this little story here a big deal? A couple reasons. Number one, it shows that God is a merciful God because he didn't wipe them all out like he first went. And that he listened to his man, Moses, who prayed on their behalf and beseeched God on their behalf and went to God on their behalf. But what's the other reason? It's interesting, and this is what I want to talk about. It's interesting, and you may not have known this, that it of interest is that the tribe of Levi are the ones who stepped up and said, we will stand up and do the right thing. And then went out and killed several thousand people because that's what Moses told them to do. Several thousand Hebrew people, their friends and family members. Why is it interesting or important to us that it's the Levites? Here's why. Many, many, many years before, the tribe of Levi was cursed forever by Jacob. The Levites back in the day, way before this, hundreds of years before this, had done some things out of retribution that caused Jacob, their father, to curse them. So what had happened was the Levites, the original Levites, had a sister, Dinah. Dinah was raped and abused by some people in the village, who then tried to play with Jacob and tried to get him to do a marriage contract with him so that they couldn't be held guilty for sexually assaulting this woman. Jacob gave specific instructions to Levi and to Simeon, his brother, about what they were to do with these people who had perpetrated these bad acts. Levi didn't, and Simeon didn't listen, and they went and did what they wanted to do, which was far more brutal than anyone had given them instruction to do. So what they did was they went and they convinced these people who had sexually assaulted their sister that if they all converted to Judaism, they would be spared. And so in order to prove that they converted to Judaism, all of the males in this village had to be circumcised. So these are grown people who are being circumcised. And Levi was told, hey, after they get circumcised, you leave them alone. He didn't. He went while these people were all trying to recover and basically wiped them out. For that, Jacob said, you have disobeyed God, and therefore your people are going to be scattered. You're not going to live together in harmony and in a unit, and so forth and so on. You're out of here. They were banished, exiled, because they didn't do what God had told them to do. They, if you will, took matters into their own hands. So all this time, they've been kind of the stepchild of all the tribes. They were always at the bottom of the heap. But on this day, when Moses came back and said, is there anybody here I can trust so that we don't end up losing our lives and our faith all at the same time? Is there anybody who's willing to stand up and enforce what God has told us to do? And it was these Levites. And this is how they went to become the priests of the Hebrew people. But here's why it's important. They made one mistake. And I want you to think about this. Have you ever made a mistake? Or let's do it this way. Do you know somebody who's made a mistake, a really bad one, and it messes up 25 years of their life or their whole life? Do you know somebody who did something stupid, spur of the moment, didn't think it through, didn't get all their info gathered together, and because of that one mistake, they're banished, they're in trouble, they have real serious personal issues? That's the Levites. They were put out by Jacob, and they were out. But what I find interesting is that in this discomfort, so remember, they didn't get invited over for holidays, and they didn't get they were like, shunned is what they were. But what's interesting is, and this is what I said at the beginning about the comfort versus discomfort, in that discomfort, merciful God is giving them an opportunity to rebuild their tribe, to rebuild their status, to rebuild their standing in the Jewish community. And he does that in the midst of this crazy time when they're burning things up and statues and idols and all this crazy stuff, he has these guys who've been banished 100 years before for doing some really bad stuff. He has them come and be the heroes or the fixers of this situation. I want to tell you, when we say it's important to know who you are, it's also important to have the guts and the courage to stick with those beliefs in the face of others who want to say other about you, who want to say what you're not, who want to say what you'll never be, who want to say how bad you are, how you're this, how you're that, you're the next thing. Here's the thing. What they say doesn't amount to a hill of beans. What they say is less than not important. Whatever less than not important is, like totally bogus, nobody cares about, right? It's only important what God thinks and you think. It's only important that you realize that if you know who you are and you're willing to stand up and be that, even though it's rough, even though you're put in this discomfort, this uncomfortable situation, that God will continue to be there for you, be there with you, be by your side. That's what he did here. Here they are after being shunned for all these years. And they become Moses' go-to heroes to clean up the Hebrew people's bad acts and their lack of being contrite about it and their lack of understanding that they are Jesus, that they are God's chosen people, and they're all acting the fool. They're acting just like the Egyptians. They let that stuff rub off on them. This is why iron sharpens iron. It's why who you surround yourself with is so important. Because if you surround yourself with real people, they're going to call you out when you do wrong. If you surround yourself with people who have like-minded, who are going someplace with their life, they will not let you slip, slide, and backslide and what have you. Why was Moses so mad at them? This is what I think. I think Moses was so mad because they were backsliding. They were worshiping idols that are from their past life when they were slaves. Finally, after 400 years, you're free and you're not a slave anymore. Why would you endorse anything from your captors, let alone something as important and vital as your relationship with God? Who does that? 2 million people who need leadership. You see, the Levites weren't empowered prior to that. They were down here on the bottom of the barrel. So they weren't even in a position where they could step up and tell the 2 million, hey, get it right. Couldn't do it. Now you see, they're working under the auspices of Moses. And Moses says, go kill these people and straighten them out and send them a message. And they did. And they did. Which put them right back in good standing with the whole of Israel. What's happening in your life? What's going on in your life? Are you honest with yourself about who you are? What's important? Who's important? How do I act? Not what do I say, what do I do? How do I interact with other people? I say I'm a Christian. Do I act like one? Do I love people unconditionally? Do I turn the other cheek? Do I help people when they need help, even if they're not my friend? They're just another person on this earth, another child of God, remembering that we're all equals here? Absolutely. Where are you in your walk with God? Who are you in your walk with God? Are you taking this comfortable, easy road out? Because if you are, it feels good today, but there's no future in it. There's no future in it. Are you listening to what God is asking you to do? Are you taking it in your heart when He asks you to do something and very carefully doing what He's asking you to do? Not like the Levites did, where they went crazy and did too much, went over the top, disobeyed God's command, didn't act in a godly manner. They were okay to go kill the people, but not to wait till they couldn't defend themselves. And they broke the rules. So they paid a very big price. Are you paying a big price? Are you paying a big price right now, today? You close your eyes, but you can't sleep. You can't turn the music off. It just keeps going in your head. And it's not the sounds of the future. It's the sounds of the past. I struggle with that sometimes. Lay down at night, mind going 900 miles an hour. Yep. It's really important that we don't let ourselves get sucked into thinking about the old days and thinking about making everything so darn comfortable for ourselves. Make it a little rough. Make it a little Levite-like. Because through that, that's where the development and the growth comes. That's where we become bigger, better, smarter people, Christians, human beings, just better people. But it's got to start at home. It's got to start with ourselves. If I don't treat myself right, if I abuse myself with medication and drugs and alcohol and smoking and I do all this stuff, can I really say I'm a Christian? My body is a temple of God. We believe these things, but I'm not treating it like a temple. I'm treating it like an outhouse. Really? See, what you're saying and what you're doing are two different things. And these don't have to be like big up in your face things. Some of these things I'm just talking about aren't big up in your face things. Think about what God has planned for you. And if you say, I don't know what that is, that's okay. A lot of us don't know what it is. But I know what it isn't. I know what it isn't. It isn't what I used to be doing. I know that. It isn't what I was doing a month ago. Because if it was, I'd still be doing that. And God would be giving me encouragement to do these old things and these old behaviors and these old things that felt really good and comfortable, but aren't really good and comfortable for me in the long term. You see, I need you, to be perfectly honest. I need all the people out there to help me. In order for you to help me, you need to be solid with yourself. You can't help somebody else if you're standing yourself in a bucket of mud. You have to be standing on a solid foundation. I need you. You need me. But we need each other to be solid. We need each other to be sound thinkers. We need each other to be brave and bold. We need each other to be willing to be unpopular, to be willing to be uncomfortable, and to know that it's okay. Because if you really care about somebody and you really love them, you don't mind being a little uncomfortable if it's for their better good and you believe in your heart it is, and you do it in a loving, caring way. I think we're going to start the music here. But before we close, I just want us all to leave on this one accord. So many people are brand driven. Cadillac is a brand. Chevrolet is a brand. Under Armour is a brand. And so many people today are either unaware of who they are or unwilling to be honest about who they are. So they try to use brands to make a statement about who they are. We all know people who want some kind of logo, some kind of emblem, some kind of something on their shirt, their purse, to their shoes, their tires. They want it to say, Ferrari. They want it to say Louboutin. They want it to say whatever. It's an issue. It's an issue when you try to get your identity from somebody else's brand. It makes a difference if it's coming from a person or a product. If I just run around and wear Bugatti logo wear all the time, I'm trying to tell somebody something. If I insist on only using or wearing certain brands, I'm making a statement about who I am, about what I'm all about. And I think a lot of times it's a cover-up. We use these brands to hide our own insecurities. We use these brands to try to, as a defensive weapon, to try to keep people away from us. Try to say, hey, I'm a Bugatti, Mercedes person. Stay away from me. I'm better. I'm higher. I'm more expensive. I'm hoity-toity. Whatever it is. That's not how to be. It's not how to be. Using and relying on the brands to try to define you only leads to heartache. You need to be defined by yourself. You need to define yourself by creating a plan in your mind about who you are, and you put that together with God. Then you put together actions to support those beliefs and what have you. And then when you do those actions, your belief system becomes stronger, more successful, and good things start to happen. Good things can't happen. Can't. When you don't know who you are, don't know where you're going, don't know how to get there, you don't have a chance. All of this starts with me, with you. It's easy. We've all done it. We've all made a mistake. The Levites made a mistake. One bad decision caused them to be shunned for years and years. We've all done that. Here's the good news. There is a way out. There is a way out. In the same way that God gave an opportunity to the Levites out of their discomfort, they found their niche again. And I'm here to tell you the same thing can happen for you. Reach out. Pray. Reach out and talk to other like-minded Christian people about the struggles you're going through. Call me. Call the church. Go on the website. There's email address, telephone number. I'm not hiding anything. The key is that you take your identity, and with God you form that thing, and you put it in place and put it to work. You don't let Levi jeans define you or Bugatti shirts. You don't let other people define you because you're female, you're minority, you're this, you're that. You don't let situations. Oh, I was in an accident. I did something bad 30 years ago. You don't let that define your whole life. Because if you do, it ain't going to be a good outcome. These Levites did some bad stuff. But God saw into their heart and gave them another chance. And He will do that for you and for me. Absolutely. The key is when the opportunity arises, we grab it and we go with it. We don't sit here talking about la la land, lying to ourselves, just kidding ourselves. The key to a positive outcome is starting with realistic expectations and goals and objectives, which means you have to know who you are and who you want to be. And you need to understand a plan as best you can of how to get there. And that's what I'm suggesting we do today. Work together. Figure out who you are. Figure out who you want to be and the path to get you there. God has you on a path, even when you don't realize it. Talk to Him. Ask Jesus. Go in your prayer closet and find out, what am I supposed to be doing right now to be the ultimate service to the kingdom, to God and to the church? How do I get there? What is the right way to do things? Where should I be turning left? Where should I be turning right? If you do it this way, it'll all come together. And it'll put you in a much, much better place. So that when the time comes, just like these Levites, you can step forward and say, I got this because I've been prepared. Lord, we thank you for bringing us out here today. We thank you for this opportunity to share your word. Thank you for a chance to have discussion with like-minded people about our future. We ask you, Lord, to build us up, to lift us up, to make us better all the way around as only you can do. Give us the courage, the strength, the enthusiasm, the stamina to stay with the fight no matter what. Help us to be honest with ourselves, transparent, completely forthcoming with ourselves as with no one else, at least with ourselves. We ask you to bless us today as we come and go and all this week. In the mighty name of your Son, Jesus, and all God's people said amen. Amen, everybody. It's been great having you here today. Every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. You can follow us at modernwordministries.org. Check us out. You can go to YouTube later. We'll be on there. Deacon Tom Moore. I need you. I really do. I need you because I need a lot of help. And I think there's somebody out there who needs me. And there's somebody out there who needs Maria. And there's somebody out there who needs everybody in here, even if we don't know that. But in order to be there and to be ready for that person when they need us, we need to be, as they used to say, paid up, prayed up, and ready to go. We need to have our ducks in line. We need to be standing on our own 2 feet. We need to, so that when somebody says, hey, you're supposed to be my helper, and God has told me you're my helper, that we can stand up and do what God has asked us to do. And not be going, well, I'm not ready. No, that's not going to work. We got to be ready. So until next week, I just say this. Remember, God's going to see you through, and I'm going to pray for you. Have a wonderful week. Be safe. Be blessed. This is Modern Word Ministries, where you can come as you are, but you'll never leave the same. I love you all. See you next week, 10 a.m. Bye-bye.